Hello and welcome to the Unknown Comics Gaming Podcast, Episode 2. I am Brandon,
I'm Tanner.
and we are your host for this episode. We're running a little bit late. Chris isn't with us. Darren, we're recording this on New Year's Day, because our boss is making us work on a holiday. But
Slave drivers.
and he's not even here.
They're not here, nope.
Wow, the irony. But anyway, we've still got a lot of game stuff to talk about, a lot of new news and releases coming. And let me turn my volume down there. So lots of cool stuff to get talking about. So we'll get right into it, honestly. So the first thing that we are going to talk about, well, let's go ahead and talk about. It's been kind of a weird season. I've been sick. You've been moving. What have you been gaming or hobbying at all?
The best I can. I've been painting a lot of terrain here for the store so we can start doing stuff up here.
Yeah.
But here the past 2 weeks, we're trying to get out of the house. All my hobby stuff is packed up. We're living out of a travel trailer for the moment.
Yeah.
I have access to it all, mostly if I need to fix any of my stuff, because I did keep one army out so I can still play.
Yeah. Your Death Guard?
Yeah, I got my Death Guard, and I do have my Blood Bowl army.
Oh, yeah.
Easily available.
Yeah. I did not get my Blood Bowl team put together because I got COVID and had to go into quarantine, and I had left the box up at work.
Oh, no.
And so I couldn't leave to come back up and get it. So
I did manage to get everything painted except for my the coin and the football.
Oh, yeah.
But everything else is painted and ready to go.
Yeah. I may go ahead and assemble it, and then once you get all moved in and set up, I may just have you commission you.
That's fine.
So,
I'll do it.
Because I just my thing is I don't have a good place to set up to paint, and I would have to set it up and tear it down all the time, and right now with the two toddlers, once I'm home, it's just so crazy and chaotic that just getting to sit down and paint at the house,
was almost a big issue for us here recently because we were originally looking at getting a manufactured home and putting on a piece of land.
Yeah.
Well, our land deal fell through, and any of the land in the area we wanted was just outrageously expensive.
Yeah.
So we ended up okay, well, we'll keep this on the side burner in case we come across some land. But let's start looking at actual houses just in case.
Yeah.
And the first couple of houses, my wife's like, what if we can't find anywhere for you to hobby? What if there's not space? I'm like, there's going to have to be space because I'm going to hobby.
Yeah.
And it's either going to be on your kitchen table or on my hobby desk. You pick. But we did end up finding something where I can have a designated little area.
Yeah.
But I can't do it. I love the hobby part probably more than the gaming.
Than the game part. Yeah. I'm the opposite. I'm definitely the opposite, but I still see the value in hobby. I just, like I said, I just want to play the game.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so with that, I haven't done anything because I've been in quarantine. I have been playing. Of course, I've always had Tabletop Simulator.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the Infinity mod. I haven't played it. I've built it and helped people play it.
Yeah.
But I've never actually played it myself. So I do have some guys at work. We've been doing an online board game group. We have been going through. It's kind of a legacy game called The King's Dilemma.
Okay.
And we just finished that. And then I've been playing Cyberpunk. As buggy and crazy as that game is, it's a wonderful, buggy, crazy game. I enjoy it quite a bit. We'll talk a little bit more about it here in a little bit because that does segue into something later. But first, what we want to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and talk about Games Workshop over the holidays.
There's been so many announcements since we've last talked.
Has dumped a lot of information across their multitude of games. And Games Workshop, if you don't know in the gaming industry, is kind of the big boy. And they have a lot of different games, 40K, Sigmar, and a bunch of different specialist games. So needless to say, they pump out a lot of news and releases.
They do.
Quite frequently. So first one on Christmas Day, they talked about the new Slaanesh army.
Yeah, the biggest deal in this announcement was the Head Knights of Slaanesh and Age of Sigmar are getting a complete overhaul.
Oh, there's a sister battle.
Also, so one of our new codexes we were planning on getting in January was the Dark Eldar, the Drakari.
Ah! Sorry.
Disney's gonna sue us for that. But yeah, so also in this preview we have the I forget what this model is called. It's basically a lieutenant. It's the equivalent of a Primaris lieutenant, but for sisters.
Yeah.
And she's going to be in this new box set that is going to be sisters and dark elves or dark Eldar.
Okay. So this is the piety and pain
Yes.
that we've got going on here.
Yeah, and so dark Eldar is also getting some new stuff. Getting some updated models in this box.
Almost witch elf like.
Yeah.
Well, I mean they are the witches, so I guess that's the evolution of.
But this was the big deal right here, the updated Head Knights of Slaanesh. 'Cause they originally released this a couple years ago. I don't think it was last year, but that release had nothing but demons in it. Well, now they're coming back with the mortal followers.
Okay.
And these models they're nice looking models. A couple weeks ago, probably about a little over a month ago now, they also announced a updated version of now that I'm going to try and say his name, I'm going to forget it. Sigvald, the Magnificent. He's getting a new model. So I'm sure that'll tie in with all of this stuff. And I mean, these are really nice sculpts.
Yeah. This Slangor.
Yeah. But yeah, you can check these out on Warhammer Community.
Yep.
There's also some pretty cool little videos. That's one thing that I love about their previews is they have the coolest videos to show their stuff off.
Yeah. So, okay. Go back to this. Does that work? Oh, man, that's cool. Runs in the background. All right. So then next, they showed off their model of the year.
There was lots to choose from this year.
And
so we got some honorable mentions. I personally voted for Archmage Teclis.
Yes. So being a high elf player back in the old fantasy days, that makes me happy that he's back in. No Tyrion yet.
Not yet, but
he's out there.
He is out there, and he keeps showing up so much in the mentioning that hey, Tyrion's still around.
Yeah.
These people, Tyrion has elves too, so hopefully in the near future we'll be seeing Tyrion.
Yeah. Necron.
Those mega Gargants are cool.
Yeah.
They're about the size of an Imperial Knight. They're huge.
Golly.
And you can play them in any army.
Oh, okay.
So that way you don't have to drop so much money on a model and only be able to use it in one list.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They are pretty hefty in price. So now we have our third place model coming up.
This isn't a model. This is a diorama.
Yeah, it's pretty busy, but I mean, it's still
that is a full
cool
model.
Yeah, it's all on one base.
Oh my gosh. That's a diorama.
I guess it's at least 100 millimeter base. It's a big base.
Wow. Which I guess base sizes don't matter in Sigmar.
No, not particularly, just as a frame of reference as to the size of it.
So sisters there. Ah, yeah, Void Dragon.
Second place.
And then first place was a...
That is Gazgul Thraka's little helper.
Okay.
They're messing with you. Gazgul's the real winner. They come in the box together.
Okay, gotcha. That makes more sense. Yeah, he's a big boy.
I love how much they mess with people in their posts.
That's fun. So then moving on, on New Year's Day or today.
Today.
This
came out fresh off the press this morning.
They had a whole.
So in this video, they preview this one particular model, but there's also snippets that you can tell that are from several different models from factions across all of their games.
Yeah.
But they don't give any information about those.
This is Slaanesh.
Yeah, this is going to be coming along with that Head Knights of Slaanesh, and
Again, this is not a model. These are models.
This is the Lord of Gluttony. I don't remember his full name.
He looks to be Gluttos or Scullion.
There you go.
There you go. That is a.
I want new 40K Slanesh. I want Emperor's Children.
Right. So there you go. So that is a bunch. I mean, there's a lot on Warhammer Community. We just kind of picked and chose a couple little ones.
For those of you who haven't heard, they are running a contest through their new app for 40K. If you go into their new beta of the Army Builder.
This is the Battleforged app?
Yeah. So you go into it, you build your army, and then you publish that army to Instagram, and I think you just tag it to Warhammer Community.
Okay.
You have to do this by the 7th, so that's this upcoming Thursday, I believe.
Okay.
7th. But they're going to choose, I think, 3 people who are going to win $1,000 worth of product.
Oh, wow.
To build a new army with. Basically, they buy you that army that you submit if you win.
Okay. So it's kind of you create a concept.
Yeah, and you have, if you could buy the whole army for under $1,000, they basically send you the army.
That's pretty cool.
So that's pretty cool. And then they also, I think it was yesterday, they had another article where, now this article was kind of teasing us, but they put out previews for they put out their release schedule for the next 6 months since, COVID has backed everything up.
I was trying to find that earlier and I didn't.
I think it's,
let's see here.
I think it's the article with the Lord of the Rings.
Okay, hang on a second. Let's see if I can pull that one up real quick. That is not. Oh, go website, go. Oh, I gotta click down in that.
I think it's that one last one from Middle Earth article. I think.
Okay. All right.
So they tease some more stuff for Middle Earth in this. A lot of it's stuff we've seen in the previews past.
So they've just combined the branding of Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Yes, it's one game now.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't know that you can play a Hobbit army against the Lord of the Ring army. I haven't played it myself, but the rules are the same now.
I would totally use him in.
Yeah, so this is one that we've seen before in a previous preview.
Treebeard.
There's another int that they are coming out with.
I remember that int. I like his nose.
And then there's this picture of something else. Those are totally Easterlings.
Their Easterlings are Haradrim. Yeah.
I think they've got to be Easterlings because of the crest on the back of their head.
Yeah.
But is there more written stuff?
No, that's it.
Maybe I don't remember which article was, but they put out this teaser of the next 6 months, and some of the stuff you could tell was probably legitimate. I think in May they said that there's going to be a Black Templar Codex supplement. Now take this with a grain of salt because there's things in the article that are very obviously a joke.
Yeah.
They also announced that possibly with the release of the Death Guard stuff, there might be some updated Predator and Rhino kits coming for them. Now, I don't know what that means, if it's just they're going to put it in the new branded box, or if there's going to be some new bits in there.
Yeah.
But in every month, I think they said, also coming this month, the highly anticipated new Space Marines Codex. More Primaris. You asked for it, here it is.
No, then we'll get the Ultra Primaris that are a little bit bigger than the Primaris. There you go. So earlier I mentioned I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 on my PC, and it's been a fun experience. Of course, for those that don't know, Cyberpunk 2077 is actually built off of a pen and paper role playing game that came out in the 80s called Cyberpunk 2020. So it's been around for quite a while, and
is that why they kept pushing it back so it actually come out in 2020?
No. I think they had always slated for it to be early 2020. It just got pushed back to late 2020, and there's a lot of heat around that as far as the video game. But the pen and paper role playing has been around for a while. It was developed by a designer named Mike Pondsmith under his company, Talosarian Games. Anyway, I can't pronounce it, but very popular role-playing game. It and Shadowrun were kind of the two big Cyberpunk games for the
Okay.
longest time. Cyberpunk is kind of a Cyberpunk fantasy game.
Okay.
Shadowrun is, whereas Cyberpunk is just a true, proper Cyberpunk setting. Very inspired by the Cyberpunk novels of the 80s, like Neuromancer and Snow Crash, and you know, other Cyberpunk things out there. So, so of course, you know, they licensed it for Cyberpunk 2077, and then so now they have actually licensed. Let me get back to there. A miniatures game, and they have licensed it to a company called Monster Fight Club. And I hadn't seen anything Monster Fight Club had done previously. It looks like they'd done scenery and miniatures and stuff, but I hadn't seen them actually pump out a game. They're a U.S. company, so they're doing a Kickstarter for this right now, and the game is called Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone. Now, Cyberpunk Red is the latest iteration of the role-playing game. It just came out this year as well, and it takes place before the video game. So it actually takes place in like 2035.
Okay.
They haven't gone back and like edited the timeline for like real world events. Like it's still kind of its own branch of
way more futuristic than it should be.
yeah. Their 2020 is not our 2020. But anyway, so Cyberpunk Red, the role playing game, takes place in like 2035, and so they're building a miniatures game off the role playing part of the timeline. Still the same continuity for everything, video game, everything. So we haven't gotten any ideas on or any previews on what the rules are going to look like. The rumors have it that it is not just a competitive game, like there is a co-op and solo way to play.
That's cool.
This is getting very popular. You saw it with Fallout Wasteland Warfare, that it wasn't just competitive. You could play against a scenario and play against AI.
And that's fun. And even if you are playing against each other, I like games that the rules are made tailored towards more casual players.
Yeah.
You know,
So, so they are going to be making miniatures for it. And I'm assuming these are going to double for miniatures for the RPG game as well. Is kind of what I'm gathering. So they've shown off some 3D renders of some. So this character right here, this Maximum Mike, this is Mike Pondsmith, the creator of the original role-playing game.
Okay.
And then we have Hack the Planet, which this is Matthew Lillard's character from the movie Hackers. So a couple little homages that they've done there. I'm not crazy about the miniatures. So these are not 28 mil scale. I believe these are actually like a higher scale. These are like 35 mil.
Okay.
So these are chunky minis. So I'm assuming it's not like it's probably going to be a skirmish style game. If I had to guess, probably a low model count type game. I think it would lend itself. Some of the miniatures are good. It's the
They're okay. The
kind of the proportions are a little weird. Very it kind of harkens back to a lot of the Ralph Partha miniatures back in the day. Kind of.
They're very static.
Yeah. Not super actiony. So not crazy about the miniatures, but there are a ton of good Cyberpunk miniatures.
Yeah.
By other third party companies that you could totally use. That there are Cyberpunk miniatures games out there. There's one called Hardwired.
I mean, even the Infinity stuff would be.
Yeah, Infinity kind of falls. So, Tabletop Minions actually has a really good video on this, where he goes over Cyberpunk miniatures games, and that's actually how I found out that this was getting made, was through his video. But he makes a good point that Cyberpunk is a genre. Infinity has elements of that, but it's more of a sci-fi.
Yeah.
Because you're out in space, there's aliens, whereas Cyberpunk has always been very near future, high tech, low life is kind of always been the Cyberpunk kind of way where it generally takes place in sprawling cities,
right,
on Earth, very dystopian stuff like that. Infinity, like I said, has those elements in a miniatures game. the hacking and stuff like that. And I think the Nomads kind of antithesize that Cyberpunk a little bit, but kind of like a higher kind of a blend between Cyberpunk and kind of higher
Yeah.
sci-fi. I would say Infinity is. So I'm curious to see what this turns out
Well-
like. I'd be really happy. If the rumors that the co-op is in there, that'd be really cool.
And anymore, there's so many Patreon pages where you basically subscribe for every month, and then you can download the STL files for all their minis,
Yeah.
and then just print them yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies doing 3D printed stuff. I
And
haven't.
I'm not a huge fan of the traditional 3D print on a mini, just because the resolution's not high enough unless you
Yeah.
buy a really expensive printer. But resin printers have come down in price a lot, and you can get. I mean, they do really nice prints.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit messy.
Yes. Yes, I've heard it is. And
It's stinky.
fumes. You want to do it in open air.
You need
and stuff
a
like that.
designated area to do that, but
Yeah. So anyway, so that is that's a game coming out. I don't know that they've actually pinned a date or anything. Like I said, that they haven't even opened the Kickstarter yet. Just that it will be coming in 2021. So there you go. So for everybody that's been playing the video game, that's also a tabletop gamer. There you go.
Well, and that's cool. Like with this and with the Fallout game, it's kind of a segue to try and get video gamers into the tabletop hobby.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
and I think like Fallout Wasteland Warfare was kind of that as
Yeah.
well, right? That really tapping into, which is funny because they're very similar video games.
Yeah.
And translating them into tabletop games. So I'm pretty excited. I haven't played Fallout Wasteland Warfare. I really haven't looked
either.
into it. I like the models. I think Modiphius.
Well, and this segues a little bit into a topic that I want to kind of save for later, but how difficult it is to start a new game in an area.
yeah, like a niche
One
type
of
game.
one of these smaller games that isn't Games Workshop.
Speaking of Corvus Belli Infinity, so we were talking about Infinity earlier. A few weeks ago, they did release their tournament rules for this season, ITS 12, kind of in preparation for when people can actually start gathering and do tournaments. And so new missions and everything came out for that. They are shipping their Defiance board game out to everybody. So Defiance was a Kickstarter board game that they did. That's kind of a dungeon crawler set in the Infinity universe.
Okay.
Kind of like Descent or Gloomhaven or something like that. That's Defiance. So that is finally getting shipped out to Kickstarter backers. People are pretty excited about that. And then they did their Christmas miniature of a Fat Yan Yan on a chopper.
Yeah.
Fat Yan Yan Santa on a chopper, which is hilariously awesome. Which the Fat Yan Yan miniatures have always been fantastic. So Tanner was talking about kind of niche games, and we talked about Infinity as one of those, getting those games kind of started in your local area, and then a lot of it just depends on your local stores, how much traffic you have into these places.
Because I know I can get sucked into them real easy.
Yeah.
If it has cool models, I'm in.
Yeah. And that's I'll say that for Infinity. When we started Infinity at Table's Edge, the thing that grabbed most people was these tables full of terrain, right?
Yes.
Infinity is such a terrain heavy
I
game.
think that's the easiest way to impress people into the. So there's two steps.
Yeah.
You got to impress them with the armies and the terrain all set up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to get somebody into it, you need to have your stuff painted and make it look really cool.
Yeah.
Don't tell them you have to paint your own stuff. Just show them painted models. But then the second step is when you teach them to play, you let them win.
Yeah.
That first game, you let. Doesn't matter
Don't be obvious about it, but
Don't
yeah,
be obvious
yeah.
about it, but that first game you let them win.
Yeah.
Make them feel good about it, and then they will buy it.
Well, and so when I would demo new games like Infinity or whatever, what I would try to do isn't so much I'll let them win. It is when I would see them make, kind of strange moves or whatever, I would kind of force them to take it back. Okay. Let me show you this real quick. Hey, if you moved him here and did this, that's why.
That's a little bit of how I would always coach. And the game I've taught the most of is War Machine.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would coach them into setting their stuff up in good positions, and I purposely set mine up badly.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't tell them that's what I was doing. So I'd leave my caster wide open.
Yeah.
And just kind of coach them into guarding theirs and this sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
I would usually aim to kill one of their guys so that wasn't coming off too obvious. But then
Yeah. So another thing that helps with kind of growing a new game is having a regular game night. And so this can sometimes be the most painful
Yeah.
part, especially if you're kind of the organizer. You know, uh, and okay, another part of it is of course having a local game store that you can play at. Not everybody has that. So if you don't have that, trying to build some form of a club and a place to play, whether that be you rent a room at the university library or something like that. It's kind of hard for tabletop gaming, but RPGs and board games can usually pull that off a
Well,
lot easier.
and it helps because a lot of the skirmish games play on a smaller surface. Um, 40K and Age of Sigmar are now scalable, so you can play them on smaller
Yeah,
surfaces. So when your game will fit on your kitchen table, that makes it a lot
yeah,
easier.
definitely more accessible. So yeah, so wherever you end up playing your game, having a regular game night, so people know consistently when they can. Now, of course, you're gonna have the people that well, I can't ever come on Wednesday nights. Okay, well, you know, somebody else is bound to have same scheduling restrictions. And a lot of it just depends on the size of the town you're in, right? We're in a town of 250,000 people, metro
Hmm.
ish. It's your player base is going to be pretty small at that rate. You go to a larger city, um, you know, you might have more population to pull from, but you also might have more stores and stuff where
Right.
everybody's kind of divided up and stuff. So there are just struggles. Uh,
And I think the hardest part is finding something that you think is cool, and then talking someone else into it enough to where they buy their own army
yeah,
in it. You
yeah.
know.
You have to and yeah, when you're showing off the game and you're playing, you have to be having fun. When you have two hyper competitive people playing and they're taking it very seriously, maybe that's not the best representation of your game,
Right.
right? That's
Because it's not like a board game where you buy the game and then it has everything for several players.
yeah,
Everyone has to provide their own stuff, so that means you have to talk people into be willing to buy into it.
exactly. You can, and a lot of people will like. I had demo armies and stuff
Yeah.
like that to let people use and play with and stuff. But that only goes so far, right? And on top of that, you're playing at a store. You want to support them by getting more people to buy into the game, right?
Right.
And so yeah, you have to show the fun aspect of the game. So if you are running like organized events, I consider a game night an organized event, right? It may not be a tournament where you're keeping score of wins and losses and points or whatever, but technically a game night is an organized event. Um, you've got to kind of set the mood for those game nights,
Hmm.
right? You've got to get the toxic players corrected or removed, right?
Well, and you got to promote it too. People got to know that it's happening. You
Yep.
can't just
Yeah. So
you can't just call it game night and expect it to happen.
exactly. So yeah, I used Facebook groups a lot for that, and did communication, or we used the stores. I had the advantage of being the store's kind of social media person. So
If you're in a larger market, Adam from Tabletop Minions has an app called Game For, and with his app,
yeah,
you can put in whatever game you want and your area, and there's other people on there, so you can get connected that way.
yeah.
But in a market the size of ours, that's not really helpful because
No,
not many people are on the app.
no. Yeah, that's definitely for big metro cities and stuff like that. So, um, you know, uh, if you have any questions about organizing games and stuff like that, shoot us comments on YouTube
Yeah,
or
because you've ran tournaments.
yeah,
I've ran my own game nights,
yeah.
so
It's
we can.
yeah, it's I've got experience doing it and all the headaches and fun. I love organizing stuff for people. I've always found a joy in you know facilitating that for people and teaching people a new game. Because here's the thing is there's a selfish component to that, right? If there's more people playing the game, then there's more people that I can play the game against,
Right.
right? And it kind of has a self-serving, but then on top of that, you're serving people as well. So yeah, definitely hit us up if you have any questions about how to kind of grow a game. There's a lot of great games out there, and so a lot of great games that nobody knows about unless you show them. It's easy to get people in to show people Warhammer and Warhammer 40K. People that don't play tabletop, a lot of them have heard of
Well,
Warhammer, right?
and part of that's because if you carry anything Games Workshop, you're required to carry X amount of boxes.
Yeah,
So you see more of it.
the visibility, yeah, and so, but yeah, there's a lot of great games out there. Of course, we are hopefully the all the quarantine and all the other weird stuff has kind of put a hamper on it, but
We're getting close.
We're getting ready to start a Blood Bowl. Now this is a Games Workshop game as well.
It is more of a niche one.
But it's what they call one of their specialist games,
Yes.
right? And they've had these for years on and off. But so Blood Bowl is the game of fantasy football. It is a board game with miniatures. So you actually play on a gridded. Let's do this. Well, that's not very big at all. You play on a gridded board. There you go. And you have all your different fantasy teams: humans, orcs, elves. And your teams gain experience, your players gain experience as you go. It's a really fun game. It's been around for years in different versions. They just released the new second season edition, which is not the second edition. It's actually more like
One and a half.
no, it's like the sixth edition.
Okay.
Technically, they're just calling it the second season edition.
It's the second edition since they officially
relaunched it in
launched
2016. Yeah, there was a big hiatus where in the 2000s where they didn't support the specialist game lines. So we're trying to get a game league, and so again, having a regular game night where people can come and play and get games and stuff. And a game like this is great because there's kind of a campaign aspect to it, right? And you can almost build a narrative to it a little bit. You can kind of role play it a little bit.
And also it helps that you can buy enough to play with in one box.
Yeah. It's good. If somebody else has like the boards and everything like that,
Right? Which you would expect. If there's a community for the game already, you would expect your store to have places for you to play on.
Yeah, exactly. So only one person really needs to buy it, and then the rest of the people can kind of leech off of it, or depending on how many simultaneous games and stuff that you're. Another Games Workshop specialist game that's we're trying to build a community for is Necromunda. This is another one that's been around in GW for a while. This is probably one of my first miniatures games that I really got big into. Well, BattleTech technically, and I did play Fantasy Battle before this, but I wasn't ever like as gung ho until the original Necromunda back in the 90s. This is, but there's two different ways to play Necromunda. There is there's like a space based or like an actual movement square based version that's kind of a one level, not as 3D version.
Yeah.
They're not really pushing that one as much anymore. So I wonder if they just kind of, they're like,
I don't think people dig it.
That didn't really work. We're just going to kind of, the rules are still out there if you want to do it, but we're not really going to support it. They're going back to the
people like the more traditional tabletop.
Yeah, I think they were trying to give people some options. But set in the 40K universe, basically you take control of gangs. And like Blood Bowl, your gangs gain experience, change.
And this all takes place on one planet, though.
Yeah, inside these little spires underground, kind of a.
So we're trying to, like Brandon said, we're trying to build a community. Both of these games we want to start doing some bat reps for.
Yep.
For Blood Bowl, I got my Shambling Dead painted.
Yep.
They're ready to go. And then for Christmas, I ended up with a box of Cawdor and a box of Escher.
There you go. Cool. I've played. No, I didn't play Cawdor. I played in the old version. There was Cawdor. There was House Cawdor, which is a gang, and then there was kind of like an offshoot, the Redemptionists.
Okay.
Of them, I did play the Redemptionists a little bit, and then I played Vansar.
The hobbyist in me is probably going to get kind of crazy with Cawdor. I'm probably going to get some Ford.
Yeah, they're kind of the cultist, religious zealot gang, and they're pretty fun. So yeah, so all sorts of fun games out there.
Like I said, we're gonna eventually we are gonna do some bat reps with these. We're waiting. We got to get our stuff finished.
Yep.
You can't bat rip with gray plastic. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Wow.
And then we're trying to get some custom play mats and stuff going. We just want it to look really cool when we get there.
Yeah, and we're all trying to get healthy
Yeah.
before we start, hovering around tables. We're gonna be distant as best as possible, but we still need to be
Well,
healthy before we do that.
You know,
too.
a lot of channels have been able to do it with the bigger games because when you're standing around a 6x4 table, you're generally 6 foot apart.
Yeah, it's doable. It's just like I said, us all being healthy and stuff is kind of paramount to all that. You got anything else you wanted to talk about, gaming wise?
I think we covered it.
I think we're doing pretty good. Again, thanks for joining us for the Unknown Comics Gaming Podcast. Of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can actually download the audio version on pretty much every podcasting platform that's out there. If you want to listen to us while you're on.
But
your
if you
commute.
are watching us on YouTube, please also like and subscribe. That helps us out a ton.
Yeah, leave us reviews on iTunes if you're listening on the audio version there.
You can follow Unknown Comic Books on all the social medias. Chris usually does this spiel, so I don't know what all of our @s are.
Yeah, but we're on.
You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on
Facebook,
Twitter, Facebook,
Twitter-ish.
We're
on Twitter.
YouTube, of course. Yep. You can also.
We're
on all the stuff.
We're on all the things. So, again, thank you for joining us, and have a great week.